And somewhere along the way, moms were taught that if postpartum feels overwhelming, it's because they're not strong enough, organized enough, or grateful enough. But the longer I've lived through postpartum and talked to other moms, the clearer it's become. Postpartum isn't hard because mothers are failing, it's because the system fails mothers. Welcome back to No Textbook for Life. This is season 3, where we're talking honestly about postpartum, the parts no one prepares you for, and the things we're expected to figure out alone. So today's episode, it isn't about emotions or mindset. It's about the why. Why postpartum feels impossible even when you're doing everything technically right. Postpartum care in America is shockingly short. Most moms get one 6-week checkup and that's it. There's no ongoing mental health support. There's no physical recovery plan. There's no real follow-up. And even research shows that postpartum mood disorders often peak after the 6-week appointment, meaning many women don't get help when they need it most. And this goes back to my own experience during my 6-week appointment. And I was like in between a midwife and a doctor. So my midwife did my 6 weeks after I had my second baby. And we would talk and go over things, and she would give me tips and like teas to drink, things to eat, exercises to do, a lot of holistic wellness activities that I could do at home and anywhere to really help with my mental health. However, it wasn't until probably 10 weeks later when I went into my actual doctor, and I was having a hard time with depression and stuff like that. And so I took the that was the time I just told him that. And nothing really came out of that appointment. So let's see. October is when I had my baby, and then I had my last appointment sometime in mid-November. I went back in December to talk to my doctor, and then it wasn't until March I went back to my doctor and he had me do a depression screening test, which all of my answers definitely would have, I think, had alerted anyone that actually looked over them. But once again, I had nobody really telling me that anything was wrong, even though I personally knew something was wrong. So it wasn't until I went into a doctor again after realizing no one was going to care about my screening, and had a talk with my doctor saying that I actually needed some kind of like antidepressants or something along those lines. So it wasn't until I went in and actually asked for specific medication. Would I rather have taken something more natural? Yes, but this doctor's office didn't necessarily do stuff like that. And my midwife had given me some options, but I definitely felt like I needed something heavier duty. And how did it feel to be flagged as severely depressed and then still sent home after? It felt like I was unvalidated, like I didn't, those feelings I had shouldn't be there, and that I felt like I was going crazy because I was feeling this way. And that's kind of the message that that whole experience taught me, and that if I were to fix anything for myself, it was going to be through my own research and personally asking the doctors for what I think I needed based off of Google searches, ChatGPT, and things like that, just kind of going based off my symptoms, not real labs or tests or screenings. So right after a baby is born, usually if you're in a good area, have good friends, family, for us, we got food, messages, visitors, gifts, excitement. And then, after I want to say like 2.5 weeks, it's just silent. Life moves on for everyone else, but mom is still waking up every 2 hours with their baby. So for everyone else, and honestly, I do feel like I'm guilty of this too, where someone I know has a baby, you're there for them the first week, maybe the second week, and then you get busy with your own life, and then they're still stuck in this rut of being a mom with a newborn. And it's hard for the first 6 months. You're not sleeping much, and it's just constant need. So I feel like when the support faded for me, it was probably 3 weeks in, when we stopped getting visitors and meals and things like that. And that's when things got a little bit harder, especially since my husband only took the first week off. And that first week we didn't get paid either. So he was out of work for a whole week. We just had a baby. And we were getting visits from the midwife, the doula, neighbors, church members, friends, family. We had meals every night. For dinner, my husband would cook the other meals. But after that first week, it was just me. Luckily, my mom was here to help, and she didn't have to go to work until the afternoon. So she did really do a lot in the mornings to help me with my toddler. I was alone with my newborn, but thanks to her too, she'd come over and give me a break so I can shower and stuff. That will not be possible for the next kids that we have, because now she has a full-time job. So I am really concerned about what I'm going to do in that case. And once again, my husband can probably only afford to take off 1 week, and not even afford, but it's just how it is. Did I feel pressure to be okay quickly? Yes, because you have to. I felt like I had to. Like I said, my husband went back to work after 1 week, and we stopped getting meals, and I still had to clean my house and do the laundry. Still had to feed my kids, etc. So, it's not it's like the pressure of being a mom. You have to kind of just get up and keep going, because if not, then who's going to take care of your kids? Who's going to take care of your house? Who's going to feed them? Feed yourself? Things like that. So, postpartum with one child or multiple kids is definitely something that I feel like women just pushed through, and this is where it would be nice to have more support. So this is where the isolation comes in, and this really affected my mental health. When my first daughter was 6 months old, I went back to work and back to coaching, and so I was surrounded by other people all day, all week, even on the weekends, and it gave me kind of like I don't necessarily want to say purpose, because I love being with my daughter, but I loved being able to do what I love too, which was coaching and being around lots of people. And so working really helped me to really appreciate my daughter as well, because when I got home, like all my time was dedicated to her and on the weekends and such. But with my second daughter, it was harder because I did stop working. And so there was no break after that. I mean, it's been a year and a half and I still haven't really had a break that I feel like I could get away for a little bit. I'm with them 24/7, 4 to 5 days a week. And on the weekend, I'm usually the one with them too. So it's been definitely a change. And I'm someone that loves to be around people. And I have some really good girlfriends where we hang out quite often, but it's usually after the kids go to bed and it's late at night and it's maybe once or twice a month kind of thing. So isolation affected me because that's just not something I was used to. And it's hard to just be alone with kids all day, especially when you kind of crave adult conversation. So it does have an effect. So instead of questioning the system, right, like we were talking about American healthcare and whatnot, moms internalize the struggle. So we assume everyone else is handling it better. Social media shows clean homes, arrested babies, smiling moms, but not the breakdowns off camera. And something I have done for the last 8 days is actually go off of social media just kind of as a fast or a cleanse. And I told myself I'd do that for 2 weeks. And I've noticed since doing that, I have felt a lot better and haven't been so concerned about what everybody else is doing. I haven't been concerned about how I look, how I dress, the things I don't have, the house I don't have, the car I don't have. And I truly can see the effect that social media has had, especially the doom scrolling that most moms do because we're overwhelmed. And that's what I would do, overwhelmed, overstimulated, is immediately go on my phone and try to block everything out. But since I haven't had my social media apps on my phone, the last 8 days, I've actually completed quite a few projects. I've been trying to finish a couple videos I've been editing, and I did a painting for my brother's apartment, which I have not painted in a very long time, and that's something I loved to do in my past time. It's really hard to do with kids, obviously, but whenever I had a free time, I would get on my phone rather than using it to be creative. And that's something that has helped me a lot to get out of a rut, is to be creative and to use my hands. And I don't have to think very much when I'm crafting. So I've done diamond art, I've listened to books, I read books, I've been baking more, spending more quality time with my kids. And so I am not necessarily even looking forward to getting back on social media, and it's only been 8 days. I will say that when I get on my phone, that's the first thing I go to, is the folder that used to have those apps. Then realize, oh yeah, they're not there. And then I'm like, well, what else can I do? And typically there's nothing left on my phone to do, so I just turn it off. But if you feel like you're struggling with comparison, having a hard time feeling grateful, having a hard time connecting, I highly suggest you go on a social media cleanse, delete your apps completely, and at least do 2 weeks and just see how you feel at the end. I don't know how I'm going to reincorporate them. If I am, But I definitely will put some safeguards in place so I don't go back into that habit of scrolling and comparing. So what did I think other moms were doing better by comparing myself to them? And I don't know, I feel like they were just probably the biggest thing I compared myself to was like how I looked versus how they looked. A lot of the influencers I had on Instagram, I guess, they just would have a baby and then didn't look like they ever had one. And they would be in nice clothing and makeup, and their hair would be done, their house would be clean, and they live in this like giant white home, which is insane with children. And they have all these like fancy equipment and gadgets, and their babies are never crying. So obviously, I feel like that is not typically relatable or realistic. And something I rather see is other moms struggling, needing help, and sharing their experiences to help other moms rather than making other moms feel bad about their situations. The comparison really affected my confidence. I didn't want to like get dressed up or wear nice clothing. I don't actually have nice clothing, but the fact that I'm wearing pants is usually a good sign. Like jeans, I wear pants. I have like stretchy jeans on rather than sweats. And just like, yeah. So I have seen a huge difference in not comparing myself to others and not being on social media. So if postpartum feels impossible, it's not because you're weak. It's because you were never meant to do this alone, without rest, without help, without care. No one ever was. That's not how motherhood was supposed to ever be. So what would postpartum have looked like with real support? I feel like I'm someone that had a lot more support than most people. I have both of my families near me, a great church community, and really good friends. It's still hard though. No matter where you're at in life, motherhood is still hard. So really try to create that village. And what do I wish someone had told me sooner? Well, my grandma and I had this really nice long conversation about how it's okay to let go of things. And I feel like that's really good advice because I'm always trying to do too much and honestly a perfectionist, which makes me irritable and really moody and feeling like I'm never amounting to anything because I've set myself such a high standard. So I'm learning to just let go of things and kind of let it be without it getting out of control. So remember, you didn't fail postpartum. Postpartum failed you, and naming that matters because it changes how we heal. Thanks for tuning in to No Textbook for Life. You can watch the video on my YouTube at Modern American Mama. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment, and we'll see you next week.